Welcome to the Real Estate Pros Show, where we interview real estate investing professionals from coast to coast, as well as the service providers that serve the real estate investing industry. Our goal is simple: share what's working now to help you improve and scale your business to the next level and meet the pros that can help you get there. Real Estate Pros is powered by Investor Fuel, America's leader in helping real estate investors and professionals build the business you need to live the life you've always dreamed of. Let's start today's show. Property insurance for real estate investors doesn't have to be difficult, but it does need to be there to protect you when you need it. MyInvestorInsurance.com not only provides insurance at 15 to 30% cheaper than traditional agencies, it's built specifically for real estate investors like you. You can set up an account in about 2 minutes, get quotes on properties, turn on and turn off insurance for your fix and flip or rental properties in around 2 minutes without having to talk to anyone directly, all through our portal. There's no better way or faster way to make sure you've got the coverage you need to protect you, and no more lengthy policies either. Once you're set up, you're billed monthly and prorated by the day for however long your policy is active. It's powered by MSI, the third largest independent MGA, with 1.5 million customers and more than $1 billion in cumulative premiums written. Get set up today in about 2 minutes at myinvestorinsurance.com/fuel.
Hey folks, welcome back to the show. I'm your host, Dylan Silver. And today on the show, I have Senior Vice President of LoanBidz. She's based out of Springfield, Missouri, and they connect investors with customized financing options. Sarah Downey. Sarah, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
It's a pleasure to have you on here. This is a very niche and interesting and new area of business that I didn't know existed. So y'all are effectively brokering private money and, hard money loans.
Correct. And I think, a lot of times in our industry and private lending specifically, mortgage brokers are typically just kind of a one-man shop focusing on one or two loans at a time. And we've really built out a huge operation to really be kind of the trusted advisors and partners to real estate investors. If anybody is busy and doesn't have the time to look for the best financing, it's real estate investors. They're flipping projects, they're managing their rental properties. And so we really want to be on their side of the table to help them navigate private lending and just kind of be a good marketplace for them. So when they have their next transaction or are looking forward to transact, we can help support them in ways that going direct to a lender, they wouldn't be able to have that much support, and just kind of transparency about where they win, what their implications are, and what's reasonable.
When I think about and we talked about this before hopping on the pod. When I think about the private money, hard money space, there's so many, different companies and different people. And I said before hopping on, sometimes it feels like I'm just dealing with, as a wholesaler and then as an investor, just a bunch of bros who got money stacked to the ceiling and are lending it out versus flipping it themselves. And I'm like, where's the guidelines, right? How do I know? What's up with this last second appraisal that just firebombed everything, and now we're scrambling at the last second? And I think that's I didn't know that there was any entity or business that does what y'all do. And so I think having a resource, you guys are vetting the lenders and making it seamless for folks is huge, because there's so much lack of uniformity. Like you said before hopping on, it's a little bit the wild west, which I like, but also that can be difficult navigating it by yourself.
Stop living on an island and join the #1 mastermind in America for professional real estate investors. Investor Fuel is a community of hundreds of the nation's top investors working together to build stronger businesses and better lives. In addition to the amazing community of real estate investors acting as a board of advisors for one another, Investor Fuel members have access to 100% funding on purchase and repairs for our members only, a health insurance program, and benefits and discounts that more than pays for the membership of most of our members, meaning it's actually costing you money to not be a member of Investor Fuel. If you're looking to scale your business and build a business that allows you to live the life of your dreams, please visit investorfuel.com today and book a call with our team.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, obviously the most important thing on the transaction is like confidence in funding and closing, right? Whether you're a real estate agent or investor, like you want to know that the person that you're looking for financing with actually can close. And like we have, built these relationships with lenders to really vet them. And we want to make sure that obviously the transaction gets done. We don't want to, work for nothing with the investor in mind. And so, we've really tried to build those strong partnerships. But again, like I think one thing that's super important is that we really are the hub, not only just for the pricing and financing, but also for the processing. So, if you are a real estate investor, especially for someone who's flipping and then refinancing, you can just work with our team instead of having to work with each of these private lenders individually and restarting every single time. You come to our team, we collect your paperwork, and when you come back and you have another project, even if that same lender that we worked with the first time isn't the best fit, you don't have to restart the paperwork. Our team works to kind of transition it over onto the new lenders, fill in the gaps of different items that we didn't have. And so another reason for it just being super beneficial to real estate investors and saving time is the paperwork headache on top of just navigating the right pricing. So that is another huge asset just with working with us, is we really want to be kind of like on your deal team, like just like you'd have a title agent or an insurance agent. Like we don't want you to have to waste time navigating who's the best lender. We want to support you in that and the paperwork, and just be on your team.
Now, are you operating in every state?
Yeah, so we're in about 41 states, so pretty much nationwide. I would say, most of our investors, if we can't work in the state that you work in, one of our lending partners can operate there as well, so we can refer you out to them. You may not get quite as much support from us, but usually we have not had issues covering the nation, especially those hotspot areas that most real estate investors are working in, is where basically if private lenders are lending there, we're supporting real estate investors there.
So now if someone is coming to you and they say, hey, I have a deal and this is how much I think the rehab budget is, and this is how much I think the, ARV is going to be. This is the timeline that I'm going to do this deal in, and this is how much that I'm bringing. Are then you having to go and sort of triage this situation yourself, or are you then pairing it with an investor and then seeing what the feedback from the investor is?
No, we usually have such good relationships with our lending partners that if their pricing changes or their guidelines change, like we get updates daily. If it changes twice a day, we get those updates. And so our account executives, so you would call us as an investor and say, hey, here's the deal. Like I need to close by this time, all of those things that you just mentioned. And they would say, okay, are there any implications? And again, probably ask you questions that you didn't think about, just to make sure that they're really vetting maybe not just the pros, but potentially cons in the transaction, because those are the things that come up, after the underwriting and you're like, I just need to close. So we want to catch those things up front too. And so they would, maybe ask you a couple questions and then spit out, hey, here's a couple different options of lending programs for you. Let's talk about what's really important to you. Speed? Is that the most important thing? Because the sellers are really, tight on their timeline, or, down payment, leverages, rates, like what's important to you. And those options will have a variation of, different components for you to review and look at. And then after that, you basically say, okay, I like option 2. And then our team jumps in, gets your paperwork started. If there is an appraisal ordered or valuation, we get that going as soon as possible, because we know time's of the essence. So
Sure.
that's basically how it works. It's pretty easy to get started.
Now, if someone is brand new to being a flipper, but they've
Sure.
got excellent credit and they've got, multiple $10,000 saved, maybe they know some contractors. I've seen it be incredibly difficult, and this is just my limited experience with this. I've seen it be incredibly difficult for them to get a hard money loan without at least having, some track record, because I've seen this on a regional level. It's very regional, I think, in some cases not. There's also some national hard money lenders that may not have the same, type of evaluation process. But in many cases, maybe some of the more regional, at least that I've experienced, it's difficult to get going. But once you have a
For
couple
sure.
deals under your belt, then the lenders tend to see that and maybe have a greater degree of trust there. So if I'm someone who's starting out and I've got a
Yeah.
deal and I'm looking at buying it for, pennies on the dollar, so it's a good deal for me, and it's a newer home, let's call it, or I shouldn't say newer, but let's call it last 40 years,
Yeah.
80s build. And I'm trying to figure out, well, how much money do I have to come to the table with? How much, what documents do I need to have prepared? Is it even going to be
Totally.
possible? And also, I'm going to throw this one out there.
Mhm.
If I need, proof of funds to submit with my offer,
Sure.
am I going to be able to get that? Are these questions that you get often, and
Oh,
how's that handled?
If you're looking for consistent, high-quality leads, look no further than Investor Machine. Investor Machine isn't just another agency, it's the most sophisticated, data-driven lead generation company on the planet for real estate investors, and serves the role of being not just a lead generator for your business, but a marketing partner that is helping you achieve your goals along the way. Go to investormachine.com to learn more and schedule a call with our team today.
all the time. So just to start, I think, kind of hitting off some of those questions. So we do have a lot of private lending options that, especially for fix and flips, will lend with zero experience, especially if you've got decent credit. So if you've only been working with local private money lenders, just opening up some national doors, I would say we definitely have options for real estate investors that are first time in flippers. New construction is a little bit harder, obviously, but we do have a couple options for that. I would say, as a new flipper without experience, the one big thing that you're going to see is probably your leverage is going to be tighter. So you may only get 85% of the loan to cost versus 90, or higher leverages. So you probably will have to come with a little bit more cash to close. But if you have the cash, if you have the credit, we definitely have multiple options. And we may have some that, if your credit is strong, you can get up a little bit higher leverage. So to just kind of bust that myth first, like, we definitely have some options for new real estate investors, but I think it is very important that you kind of hit on an important part with fix and flip is, for those of you that are listening that want to be flippers or are flippers, the most important thing that I think a lot of real estate investors do not keep tabs on is their experience and their track record. So it can take a lot of time in some contexts. Like I said, that we have lenders that don't as heavily value experience, which is nice. But I would say you're going to get better pricing and better leverage with the more experience you have, because they're going to be able to say, oh, your success rate is good. Your, closing of the sale is faster. They want to look at those timelines, and that will give them more confidence to give you higher leverage and to close quicker. So, as either a newbie, a really good option would be to partner up with somebody that's already doing it, but get yourself on
Yep.
title, get yourself in an LLC with each other, so that you can actually be on title and consider that your experience. So don't just help them with a hammer, but actually say, hey, can I have 10% ownership in your LLC on your next project? And I will help, with some, hard labor or something, just to get that experience, because it will help you get better leverage on your transaction, because they are really looking at ownership in a flip, not just did you help someone. And so keeping track of that experience or that track record is super important. And just keeping it up to date. So I would say most lenders are wanting to look within the last 24 months. We have some that'll kind of look back over the last 5 years, 3 to 5 years as well. But first, to answer your question, we do have options for no experience flippers. But as a flipper, if that is really the market that you're trying to tap into, experience is what's going to give you better pricing. And potentially, we do have a few options that can do 100% financing, but they're going to want to look at your experience. So, Again, you hit a couple different things. I think I answered most of them, but
I
experience is
think I think that's most
very
of it.
important. But there are options out there. So for real estate investors that are wanting to get started, or people that are, maybe you've only done DSCR, but you want to try to flip, you've only done rentals or Airbnbs. You're like, I want to try one of these. Like, we do have options through LoanBidz to get a transaction done. And if you have rentals, we may be able to utilize that towards your experience as well.
If you're a new or newer real estate investor looking to launch or grow your real estate investing business, please check out Investor Fuel Club. It's a coaching community, but unlike anything you've ever seen before. And you can actually partner with members of our mastermind from coast to coast on deals right in your market. There's no better opportunity to build a consistent business than to literally partner with pros to help you avoid costly mistakes, avoid the need for capital to do deals, and help you eliminate your fears as you're starting your business. Learn more about Investor Fuel Club at investorfuel.com/club.
Now, for proof of funds, how does that work? I mean, of course, each one is going to be different, but if someone was needing proof of funds to submit for their offers,
Sure.
is that something that certain lenders are able to or willing to provide? And if so, what's typical as far as getting the proof of funds?
Yeah, so I know it's going to look a little different than what you're going to get from your conventional lender. If you go to a bank where they're going to say, give you like a pre-approval letter or pre-qualification, like if you need one, typically after the deal is pre-flighted in some of the initial stages, right? We do like a soft credit pull just to make sure, we check the property out and kind of pre-flight it. We can provide you with a pre-qualification letter in our name, and are happy to communicate with sellers, real estate agents, to provide them with an update. Because like I said previously, like, we are very in tune with our lenders' guidelines, pricing updates. We don't have to just rely on them with every question, right? So we're able to pre-flight. We have most of their guidelines in our, folders. And so we don't have to wait for approval from them to know if your deal is going to fit in their credit box or not.
Wow, this is a huge deal. This is a very big deal, I think, for people that are starting out.
Yeah.
I mean, I was thinking about a deal that I was looking at recently, a couple deals actually, and talking with people who are starting out and asking me for my feedback, and they're talking about fix and flip and asking me, well, I mean, and they're real newbies, but they've got good credit and they've
Right.
got money, lots of money saved, or enough money saved where they could potentially get this process started.
For sure.
But they might not be able to conduct a whole flip, or they can't conduct a whole flip and take down a property, purchase a property just
Right.
based off the cash that they have saved. So what do they do? And a lot of times the questions that I get, I'm having to wear multiple hats. So I'm thinking, well, maybe for this person, based on their experience level, talk about experience, it's probably not good, even though it might sound nice, for them to be looking at doing flips, because they're not swinging a hammer. That's not in their wheelhouse. And for me to work with them and make offers for them on properties that are like very going to need a full gut
Right.
rehab is going to be a huge undertaking for them.
Right.
And maybe they need more of a rental.
Right.
But then there's other people who are like, well, actually, I'm kind of a carpenter. Like, I've been doing this for a while and I'm looking at this. Now, how am I going to get a personal loan for this? And then I'm having to walk through what is hard money, right? And then how that process works. And so I think, even though this is old hat to me and, you're in the game, so of course you're dealing with this every day, to a lot of people on the outside looking in, even people who are involved as contractors, they might not really be familiar with this space. And so it's news to some people, and I think
Sure.
to a lot of people on the outside, that they have the ability to basically get a private money loan
Yes.
for a shortened period of time that'll be maybe at a higher rate than what you would, or for certainly a higher rate than what you would look at a longer term traditional mortgage, but that they're also getting money to then fix and flip the property. And so this just opens it up
Right.
to so many people. And on a basic level, like when I'm talking about this with potential investors, and I'm sure you deal with this all the time, Sarah, it's like, well, where do I begin? What's
Right.
the starting point? Because
For
now
sure.
I got to look at properties, and now I got to look at getting qualified. And so when people are reaching out LoanBidz and your staff and you are interacting with them, what's maybe the biggest growth point that you're having to see and work past with new investors? Is it evaluating properties, or do you guys stay, somewhat hands off of that as far as giving people guidance?
No, I mean, we can definitely look at comparables, and I think that is important as a real estate investor. Somebody that's newer, they may not have the resources, to pull those numbers, right? The as is values versus the ARV. So we can definitely support them and actually looking at it. If they come and they say, I think this is worth this much, can you kind of run an internal valuation to see? We have tools and resources to support kind of pre-evaluation reviews before the appraisal. Same thing, with market rent, kind of just some tools to kind of see if their rental is going to be worth it. Because a lot of our rental loans are done based off of that DSCR ratio of like, if the expenses don't make
Yeah.
sense, like you don't want this loan either. Like if the lender won't approve it, you don't want it because you're going to be really tight on your cash flow. So I would say, we really want to try to educate them on, we do work with a lot of new borrowers, whether that's new rentals owners, which is a strategy that they still have to navigate of just how to market the have to gauge the market rent, or fix and flip, right? And we have seen some markets change in valuations, right? Some have more inventory, some we've seen drop. And so, we've watched ARVs come in lower occasionally in certain markets, across the country. But I think overall, we have tools and resources to help support them. If we feel like they're off base, our account executives aren't just kind of AI behind the scenes. Like they're going to look at the project and try to
Yeah.
really advise them on like, we don't want to put them in a bad deal, right? Because first of all, we
Yeah.
want them to be successful, and we don't want to put them with one of our lenders and like kind of say, hey, this
May
person's going to
default or
default.
something like
Yeah,
that.
like we
Yeah.
also don't want our default rate to be high with our lending partners. So it really goes both ways of like, we talk about in our office like wild transparency and like just really being upfront with especially new investors on just educating them. But I would say, I think one of the biggest things that I would advise, just even from personally investing, is that I think you get a lot of people that are coming in and they don't have their personal finances in order, their personal credit in order. And jumping into real estate could be really not a great option for them. Just to tie up all of their capital in a project if they don't have partners in the project that have experience and know the market, know how to, like you
Yeah.
said, swing the hammer and do those things. Like I think, if I were just at a table, like non, biased, like not on the private lending side, like that's what I would tell them is like, do you have your own, capital? Is this something that you're wanting to do on the side? And then for those people that, you know, maybe they don't have quite as much capital, but they have a lot of experience, right? You're like you were saying, you're a general contractor or somebody who's been doing it for somebody else for a long time, but maybe they've never done it for themselves, right? And they want to make it their job. Like I think there are options to do that. They obviously want to make sure they have enough funds to just cover the cost of the project, but I think, like you said, we have options for those first timers to, really get started, and we'll try to help navigate them through, the lending process if it's new to them. We don't just ask them.
I also
Yeah, go ahead.
I also think I want to say if folks aren't able to jump into a fix and flip, but they want to, and I'm in this position myself. I'm like, you're talking about finances in order and,
Yeah.
and all this stuff, and me thinking, I don't think I'm ready to leverage this. I put up this much risk, really. I
Right.
expose myself to this much risk, because as great as it can be, I also know experienced flippers who lose money on flips.
Right.
And we're talking about experienced flippers.
Yeah.
So if they, of course, I am not an experienced flipper, but I think there's so many ways for folks to still kind of stay in the game or be right on the sidelines looking in, that just because you can't do a flip doesn't mean that there's not, ways to make money in adjacent
For
spaces.
sure.
I've seen people who, just send referrals to hard money lenders. I've seen, the same thing can be said for all wholesalers,
Yeah.
right? Wholesalers aren't doing flips. But, and the reason why I bring this up is because there's a trajectory. I've seen now so many times, people go from wholesaling to then more wholesaling. Now they're doing it on volume. Then maybe they do a fix and flip. Now from that fix and flip, they're doing multiple. Maybe they get into short-term, mid-term, corporate housing, long-term homes. Next thing you know, it's 10 years down the line and they're buying notes.
Sure.
And then they're the person lending the money
Yeah.
out. And it's like in this condensed time period, you see, but at the same point in time, those first couple years, and I'm sure you talk with people about this, those first couple years, you're kind of wanting to jump in. You really do. But if it's not the right time, you save yourself a lot of heartache if you wait a little bit
For sure.
and jump in when you got all the ducks in a row.
For sure. Well, and I mean, again, there are so many different roads that you could go down with real estate, which is why I love it, right? There's so many, service
Yeah.
providers, there's so many opportunities within it. But I think one of the things that we've learned is, like, even on the space that we work in, is that to just stay, at least for me, I think my advice to somebody is to stay focused on one thing for a good period of time and get really, really good at that one thing, to be able to then pull capital out of that whether it's an asset
Yep.
class or, if you're wholesaling, get really, really good at wholesaling. And then maybe you try to do something else within wholesaling, or maybe that's when you try to flip instead of, it could be very much like chasing a million different things at once, because there's a lot of
Yeah.
different opportunities that come up in real estate and, in lending. But again, I think, I'm of the mindset of just like focusing in on that really, one area first and getting really, really good at that, and then capitalizing potentially on something else. Not saying that I don't think that, you have to have some kind of like ability to transition and
Pivot, yeah.
adapt. Even personally, right? Like, I invest in real estate individually, and I also work in private lending, but I just know that, like, hey, I could make more money in flipping, but I don't have the bandwidth for that, in my life. And so I think that's one thing, is just trying to focus in. If I could give real estate investor advice, is just getting really good at whatever market you're in, whatever asset class you're in, and getting really good at that first, and then letting that kind of work for itself. So if you have a team, right, we have a lot of real estate investors that do that kind of BRRRR method, where they may
Yeah.
transplant in a market. We had one guy who literally just was paying a wholesaler at first, and then he decided to, hire that wholesaler, and that wholesaler is managing all those projects, and then they're converting those all into rentals and managing them. And so I think if you build out a good process in that market with what you're doing, and you get really good at knowing your numbers and knowing, and having a team do it for you, then it just makes it easier to either try a different market out or try a different asset class. And it doesn't feel as risky, because that on the back end, you have your, flip rentals in that one area that is really moving and grooving. Because otherwise, I feel like you could be doing a lot of really good things not well, and not maybe making the capital that you
Yeah.
want, versus just focusing in on a market that really well, an asset class that really well, and just being really good at that first.
I think like, to your point, locking in on one thing, if you're a fix and flipper, right? And maybe you're a fix and flipper, but you're thinking, well, how do I make more money because I'm paying these wholesalers? Well, what happens if you get an in-house wholesaler, right? And now the wholesaler's finding your deals rather than you having to become a wholesaler,
Exactly.
which is what I've seen some people try to do. And now you're maybe losing money paying for leads in wholesale that you're working yourself.
For sure.
And you're also trying to, grow and scale your fix and flip business. There's ways to do it where you're not having to wear a bunch of different hats. But Sarah, we are coming up on time here. Where can folks go to learn more about LoanBidz
sure.
and maybe to reach out to you?
Yeah, for sure. So I would say the best place, if you have any more questions, is just go to loanbidz.com. And from there, you'll be able to just navigate pretty easily on how to connect with us. If you have a transaction, or if you just want to do a strategy session with one of our account executives, there's our contact information on there, along with some articles and just some more information for you just in general about the market. If you like the tips and things that we talked about, or you can reach out to me directly as well. I don't know if you guys will share my information. Again, I work more on the ops side, so I'm happy to help, but I would love to connect you with one of our account executives, and they can really help strategize with you, whether you have a project or are looking to, come up with one in the next, few months.
It's LoanBidz with a Z.com, right?
LoanBidz with a Z. Yep, exactly.
All right, Sarah,
Awesome.
thank you so much for coming on the show here
thank
today.
you.
It's exciting to be part of this space. And I think, I have a couple people in the back of my mind where I'm thinking I got to send them to LoanBidz
Totally.
because, see if they can get some assistance there. Thank you for
Sure.
coming
Yeah,
on
thanks for having
here
me.
today, Sarah.
Yeah, thanks again.
Thanks for joining us for today's Real Estate Pros Show. You can learn more about the amazing benefits of the Investor Fuel Mastermind community, including surrounding yourself with hundreds of other rock stars, 100% financing for your deals, and members-only discounts from vendors you're likely already using that, as a member of Investor Fuel, will save you more than the cost of your membership. Visit investorfuel.com to learn more. If you're interested in joining us as a guest of this show, please visit investorfuel.com/pros to apply. You can also check the show notes for access to free resources, how to get access to world-class lead generation, and much more. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss another episode. Have a great day. We'll see you on the next show.